The stars had always looked peaceful from Earth. Every child who looked into the night sky imagined beauty, adventure, and endless possibilities. But very few people knew that silence in space was not peace. Sometimes, silence was a warning. Dr. Elias Carter had spent 23 years listening to the universe. Not with ordinary telescopes. Not with cameras. He listened with radio waves. Every second, billions of invisible signals traveled across space. Most of them came from stars, galaxies, pulsars, and exploding supernovas. They were natural, predictable, beautiful. But every scientist secretly hoped for something different. A signal that nature could not explain. One cold evening, while the observatory rested under a sky filled with countless stars, Elias noticed something unusual. A tiny pulse. It appeared only once. Then it disappeared. His computer marked it as interference. The software deleted it automatically. But Elias had seen it. He restored the data. The pulse lasted exactly 1 second. Nothing strange about that. Except for one detail. Inside that single second, the signal contained the first 1,000 prime numbers. Prime numbers do not occur naturally in perfect order. Someone, or something, had arranged them. His heartbeat became faster. For the first time in human history, Earth might have received an artificial message. He spent the entire night checking every possible explanation. Satellite interference. Computer error. Military transmission. Solar activity. Nothing matched. The signal had traveled almost 42 light-years before reaching Earth. Whatever sent it had done so 42 years earlier. The next morning, nobody believed him. His colleagues smiled politely. Some laughed. Others told him he needed sleep. The director of the observatory said there was not enough evidence. The report was rejected. Officially, nothing unusual had happened. But Elias refused to forget. Every night he waited. Every night he listened. Exactly 31 days later, the signal returned. This time it lasted 3 seconds. Again. Perfect prime numbers. But after the numbers ended, a new pattern appeared. Not mathematics. Not language. Just a repeating sequence of tiny dots and long pulses. His software translated it into binary. The binary became pixels. Slowly, an image appeared. It looked like a circle. Inside the circle floated another smaller circle. Then another. Then another. It looked almost like an atom. But something was wrong. The electrons were not orbiting randomly. They formed a map. Elias stared at the screen for nearly an hour. Then realization struck him. It was not an atom. It was a solar system. The smallest circle represented a star. The larger circles represented planets. One planet flashed repeatedly. Whoever sent the message wanted humanity to notice one world. Nothing else. The government became involved within hours. His laboratory was sealed. His phone stopped working. Armed guards appeared outside the observatory. Nobody was allowed inside. Nobody was allowed out. For 6 months the discovery remained secret. Astronomers from around the world arrived quietly. Physicists, cryptographers, artificial intelligence researchers, military experts. Every one of them failed to understand the rest of the transmission. Until an AI system noticed something impossible. The timing between each pulse matched the rhythm of human brain waves during dreaming. Not random. Not accidental. Intentional. The message had been designed for intelligent minds. Not computers. Humans. An international team decided to answer. Using Earth's largest radio telescope, they transmitted a simple reply. The sequence of prime numbers. Hydrogen spectral signature. The structure of DNA. The location of our solar system. Then they waited. 1 year. Nothing. 2 years. Nothing. 5 years. Still silence. Many scientists concluded that the civilization was already extinct. Perhaps their signal had crossed empty space for decades before reaching Earth. Perhaps nobody remained alive. Life returned to normal. Funding disappeared. The laboratory closed. Elias retired. He moved to a small cabin near the mountains where the night sky remained perfectly dark. Every evening he placed a small radio receiver beside his window. Old habits never disappeared. One winter night, almost 12 years later, the receiver produced a sound. A single pulse. Then another. Then thousands. His old equipment should never have detected a signal that powerful. The transmission was coming from somewhere much closer. Not 42 light-years away. Not even outside the solar system. It was coming. From the moon. Elias froze. There had never been any radio station on the far side of the moon. NASA confirmed that no spacecraft operated in that region. Yet the signal continued every night. The moon itself seemed to be speaking. Within days, every major space agency secretly agreed to launch a joint mission. The official announcement described it as a geological survey. The truth remained classified. 4 astronauts boarded the spacecraft. Among them was Maya Chen, a planetary geologist known for solving impossible problems. After 4 days of travel, they entered lunar orbit. Everything appeared normal. Great craters. Ancient mountains. Endless silence. Until they crossed above the moon's far side. Every communication with Earth stopped instantly. Not because of normal radio blockage. Because something was actively blocking every frequency. Their instruments failed one after another. Navigation. Radar. GPS. Even atomic clocks began drifting by tiny fractions of a second. Time itself no longer behaved normally. Maya looked outside the window. At first she thought her eyes were tired. Then she realized the stars were moving. Not slowly. Not over hours. Within seconds. Entire constellations shifted position like clouds blown by an invisible wind. The universe outside was changing far too quickly. And deep below them, inside a crater that had never appeared on any map, a faint blue light began to rise from the darkness. The blue light did not spread like fire. It moved with impossible precision. Thin lines of light climbed along the crater walls, connecting to one another until they formed enormous geometric shapes that stretched for kilometers. From orbit, the glowing patterns resembled a living circuit board carved into the moon itself. No human satellite had ever photographed anything like it. Captain Lewis adjusted the spacecraft's cameras. Nothing appeared on the screen. The cameras showed only gray rock. But through the windows, every astronaut could clearly see the blue structures glowing beneath them. "It isn't visible to our sensors," Maya whispered. "It's only visible to us." Nobody answered. The onboard AI searched every database. No known physical phenomenon could explain why human eyes detected something that cameras could not. Then another strange event occurred. The spacecraft's internal clocks disagreed. One clock claimed it was 2:14 a.m. Another displayed 2:17. A third insisted it was still 2:09. Atomic clocks were never supposed to disagree. Not by seconds. Not even by billionths of a second. Yet every clock measured a different reality. Suddenly the radio speakers came alive. Not with words. With breathing. Slow. Calm. Human breathing. Everyone froze. Captain Lewis picked up the microphone. "This is Lunar Mission Orion. Identify yourself." Silence. Then, a child laughed. Only once. The sound echoed through the cabin before disappearing completely. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. There are no children on this mission. The medical officer checked everyone's heart rates. Every astronaut's pulse had increased. Even the AI reported unusual electrical fluctuations inside the crew's brain monitoring sensors. It was as if something outside the spacecraft was interacting directly with their nervous systems. Mission Control still could not hear them. Earth remained silent. The blue structures below grew brighter. Without any command from the crew, the spacecraft slowly changed direction. Its engines were off. Its fuel valves were closed. Yet it descended toward the crater. Captain Lewis grabbed the controls. Nothing responded. The spacecraft ignored every manual command. Maya watched the altitude numbers fall. 5,000 meters. 3,000. 1,000. 500. 200. The landing engines never fired. Yet the spacecraft landed as gently as a feather. Outside, there was no dust. No impact. almost as if invisible hands had placed them on the lunar surface. The hatch remained closed. Mission protocol required waiting for instructions from Earth. But Earth was unreachable. After 30 minutes, Captain Lewis made the decision. We go outside. The astronauts slowly stepped onto the moon. The silence felt different. Not empty. Listening. The blue light surrounded them without producing heat. Their shadows pointed in different directions at the same time. Maya looked down. Her footprints appeared normally in the lunar dust. But seconds later, they disappeared. The dust became smooth again. As if time itself had erased every trace of their presence. She knelt to examine the ground. The moon was vibrating. Not violently. Very gently. Almost like a heartbeat. One pulse. Every 12 seconds. The rhythm exactly matched the mysterious signal that had first reached Earth 12 years earlier. Captain Lewis placed a vibration sensor on the surface. The readings made no sense. The moon was producing energy from deep inside its core. Modern science believed the moon's interior had cooled billions of years ago. It should not still be active. Yet something enormous beneath the surface remained alive. Then they noticed a doorway. It had not been there moments earlier. A perfectly smooth black opening stood in the middle of solid rock. No hinges. No seams. No signs that it had ever been constructed. It simply existed. The walls around it reflected no light at all. The darkness inside looked deeper than ordinary shadows. Maya pointed her flashlight into the entrance. The beam vanished after only a few meters. Not because the tunnel turned. Because the light itself disappeared. It absorbs photons, she whispered. But nothing absorbs every wavelength. Captain Lewis took one cautious step forward. The moment his boot crossed the entrance, every astronaut heard a voice. Not through their helmets. Inside their minds. It spoke perfect English. Welcome back. Everyone stared at Captain Lewis. Did anyone say that? Four heads shook at once. The voice returned. We have waited. Medical scans immediately activated. No abnormalities. No brain tumors. No hallucinations. Every astronaut had received the exact same message simultaneously. Maya forced herself to walk into the tunnel. The temperature inside remained exactly 21 degrees Celsius. Impossible on the moon. Gravity also changed. With every step, she felt slightly heavier. Not enough to notice immediately. But enough that her muscles worked harder. They walked for nearly 15 minutes. The tunnel contained no lights. Yet they could see perfectly. The walls glowed faintly from within, revealing countless tiny crystals arranged in repeating mathematical patterns. The deeper they traveled, the younger the tunnel appeared. Near the entrance, the walls looked ancient and worn. Farther inside, they became smoother. Cleaner. Almost new. Maya suddenly stopped. Look. Embedded inside the wall was a fossil. Not of an alien creature. A fern leaf. Perfectly preserved in stone. Captain Lewis frowned. Ferns never existed on the moon. A few meters later they found another fossil. This time, a fish. Then a dinosaur footprint. Then the skull of an early human ancestor. Each one trapped inside lunar rock. Separated by hundreds of millions of years of Earth's history. Yet all existed together inside the same tunnel. It's like, Maya whispered. Someone collected samples from different ages of Earth. No one could explain it. Finally, the tunnel opened into a chamber so vast that their helmet lights could not reveal its ceiling. In the center floated a sphere of blue light nearly 30 meters across. It was not touching the floor or the air. It simply hovered, perfectly still. Around it floated hundreds of smaller objects. Some looked like books. Some resembled crystals. Others appeared to be transparent cubes containing tiny galaxies spinning inside them. The sphere slowly rotated. As it turned, images formed across its surface. The birth of stars. The formation of planets. The first oceans on Earth. Single-celled organisms dividing. Dinosaurs walking beneath unfamiliar skies. The rise of humanity. Every scene flowed into the next without interruption. It was not a recording. It was history itself, unfolding before their eyes. Then the sphere stopped rotating. A face appeared. Not male. Not female. Not even clearly human. Its features shifted continuously, borrowing familiar shapes from every member of the crew. When it finally spoke, its voice carried no emotion. You believe you discovered the signal. A pause filled the chamber. Then the being continued. You did not. Another pause. We discovered you. Maya felt every muscle in her body tighten. No one moved. No one even remembered to breathe. The glowing face remained perfectly still, studying each astronaut with an intensity that felt almost physical. Captain Lewis finally broke the silence. Who are you? The face answered immediately. Names exist only for short-lived civilizations. Its voice echoed through the chamber without passing through the air. Every word seemed to appear directly inside their thoughts. You may call us, the Keepers. Maya looked around. There are more of you? The face turned toward her. There were. A strange sadness filled the chamber. Not spoken. Felt. Like an emotion being transmitted instead of sound. We no longer possess bodies. The blue sphere brightened. Millions of tiny lights began moving beneath its surface. Each light represented a different consciousness. Billions of them. Stored together. Living without flesh. Living without death. Our civilization learned that biology is temporary. Images appeared around them. An ancient world circled a bright blue star. Its cities stretched across continents. Its oceans sparkled beneath 3 moons. Towering structures reached into orbit without rockets. Children laughed. People walked peacefully through gardens filled with glowing trees. It looked less like an alien civilization, and more like humanity thousands of years in the future. We mastered energy. The image changed. We mastered gravity. Another image. We mastered time. The stars themselves bent around enormous machines. But we never mastered ourselves. The beautiful cities vanished. Darkness spread across the planet. Not war. Not disease. Something worse. People stopped aging. No one died. At first it seemed like paradise. Families remained together forever. Scientists worked for centuries. Artists painted endless masterpieces. Every dream became possible. But after thousands of years, nothing felt meaningful anymore. Without endings. Life had no urgency. Without loss. Love slowly lost its value. Without death. Birth became unnecessary. Eventually, the last child was born. Then silence. The civilization continued to exist. But it never truly lived again. Maya whispered, "Immortality destroyed you." The keeper nodded. "It destroyed our purpose." The chamber dimmed. We searched the galaxy for younger civilizations. Images of countless worlds appeared. Some covered by oceans. Some frozen beneath endless ice. Some glowing red beneath giant stars. Thousands of intelligent species. Millions. Most had vanished long before reaching space. Some destroyed themselves with war. Others poisoned their own worlds. A few survived. Very few. Your species interested us. Captain Lewis frowned. Why? The keeper's answer came instantly. Because you continued despite failure. Images from Earth's history surrounded them. Volcanoes. Ice ages. Floods. Wars. Pandemics. Earthquakes. Cities burning. Hospitals overflowing. Rocket launches. Children returning to school. Families rebuilding. Homes. Scientists celebrating discoveries. We watched you fall. Another image. We watched you stand again. The keeper's glowing face softened. No civilization has repeated this pattern as often as yours. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Human history suddenly looked different. Not as a collection of disasters, but as proof of resilience. We sent the first signal to measure your curiosity. Prime numbers appeared once more. You answered. The solar system diagram. You investigated. The lunar signal. You came. The keeper looked directly at Maya. Every choice revealed your future. Captain Lewis crossed his arms. If you've watched us for thousands of years, why stay hidden? The answer took longer this time. We were afraid. Silence. Of humans? Yes. Nobody expected that answer. You fear us? The sphere displayed another sequence of images. The first airplanes. Then rockets. Then satellites. Then reusable spacecraft. Then powerful quantum computers. Then fusion reactors. Human technology accelerated faster and faster. We calculate probabilities. The keeper continued. If humanity survives another 500 years. The image changed again. Entire stars disappeared inside enormous structures. Galaxies connected through artificial wormholes. Humans walked beside machines as equals. Worlds bloomed where empty rocks had once drifted through space. The simulation ended. Our models predict your civilization surpasses ours. Captain Lewis laughed nervously. That's impossible. The keeper replied calmly. So did our ancestors. Suddenly, the chamber trembled. For the first time, the keeper's expression changed. Concern. The blue lights around the room flickered violently. A deep vibration rolled through the moon. Not every 12 seconds anymore. Every 5. Then every 3. The floating objects drifted out of alignment. One by one. Tiny cracks appeared across the glowing sphere. Maya stepped backward. What's happening? The keeper remained silent for several seconds. Finally, it has found us. Every astronaut looked at one another. Who? The chamber grew darker. Far beyond the tunnel. The moon itself shook. Small rocks floated into the air. Gravity fluctuated wildly. Helmet alarms activated simultaneously. Outside. On the lunar surface. Something impossible was unfolding. The stars were disappearing. Not hidden by clouds. Not blocked by dust. One after another. Entire stars simply vanished from the sky. As if an invisible shadow was swallowing the universe itself. The keeper looked upward, even though the moon's surface lay kilometers above. It followed your signal. Captain Lewis's voice trembled. What followed it? The answer came as a whisper. The silence. The name itself seemed to drain warmth from the room. It is older than galaxies. The chamber walls displayed images that no human mind was prepared to understand. Galaxies billions of light years wide. Going dark. Not exploding. Not colliding. Simply ceasing to exist. Stars winked out. Planets dissolved into black dust. Entire civilizations vanished without leaving a single atom behind. It does not conquer. The keeper said. It erases. Maya stared at the impossible scenes. No weapon can do that. It is not a weapon. Then what is it? For the first time, the keeper hesitated. It is what remains. When the universe begins to forget itself. Maya tried to understand the keeper's final words. The universe, forgetting itself? The phrase sounded impossible. Memory belonged to living minds. Not to space. Not to time. The keeper raised one hand. The floating sphere shattered into thousands of glowing fragments. Each fragment became a window. Inside every window, a different version of reality unfolded. In one, Earth had never formed. In another, dinosaurs still ruled the continents. In another, humanity had reached the stars millions of years earlier. Some realities lasted only seconds before dissolving into darkness. Others continued peacefully. Every possibility exists, the keeper said. Reality is not a single road. It is an ocean. Maya stared at the countless worlds. Then why do we experience only one? Because consciousness chooses. Captain Lewis frowned. You're saying observation creates reality? Not creates. The keeper corrected him gently. It preserves. One of the floating windows suddenly flickered. The earth inside it disappeared. Not exploded. Not burned. Simply, gone. The stars around it rearranged themselves, as if the planet had never existed. Another window vanished. Then another. Dozens disappeared every second. The silence is accelerating. The keeper's calm voice carried an unfamiliar urgency. It consumes information. Maya blinked. Information? The keeper nodded. Everything that exists is information. A star. Information. A human. Information. A memory. Information. When information is destroyed, existence follows. The astronauts exchanged worried glances. This sounded less like science fiction and more like advanced physics. Human scientists already believed that information could never truly be destroyed. Even black holes had forced physicists to rethink that principle. The keeper continued. Your scientists call it the black hole information paradox. They were closer to the truth than they realized. Another violent tremor shook the chamber. This time, cracks spread across the floor. A deep humming filled the air. The moon itself was beginning to fracture. Outside, the darkness between the stars grew larger. It moved without speed. Without direction. It simply appeared wherever light had once existed. Captain Lewis looked through the tunnel toward the surface. The sky is disappearing. No, the keeper replied. The universe is becoming smaller. Maya felt her heart race. Can it reach Earth? It already has. The chamber fell silent. What? The keeper extended a glowing hand. Above it appeared the image of Earth. At first everything looked normal. Then tiny regions began fading. An abandoned village. A forgotten language. An extinct animal. Ancient ruins. One by one. History itself disappeared. People no longer remembered those things. Books changed. Photographs altered. Digital archives rewrote themselves. Humanity never noticed. Because the memories vanished with the evidence. The silence begins with forgotten things. The keeper spoke softly. Only later does it erase the unforgettable. Maya suddenly remembered something. As a child, she had owned a favorite storybook. She could picture its blue cover. She remembered reading it every night. But she could no longer remember its title. Or the ending. Or even the main character's name. Had she simply forgotten? Or had something taken it? She looked around. The others wore the same expression. Each was remembering something they could no longer remember. Captain Lewis whispered, "My older brother." Everyone looked at him. "I know I had one." His breathing became uneven. "I remember playing with him." He covered his face. "But I can't remember his face." The medical officer stared at Lewis in horror. "Your personnel file says you're an only child." Lewis slowly lowered his hands. "No." His voice cracked. "I wasn't." Silence filled the chamber. Not even the keeper interrupted. Because the silence already had. Another memory had vanished forever. Maya felt a sudden fear unlike anything she had known. Not fear of dying. Fear of being erased so completely that no one would even know she had existed. The keeper looked toward the ceiling once more. "There is little time. What do we do?" Maya asked. The glowing fragments of the shattered sphere gathered together again. This time they formed a map. Not of space. Of the human brain. Billions of glowing neural connections stretched through the air. "You possess something we lost." "What?" The keeper answered without hesitation. "Imagination." Captain Lewis looked confused. "Imagination isn't stronger than whatever this thing is." "It is." The keeper's eyes shone brighter than before. "The silence cannot erase what has not yet been imagined." Every astronaut stood speechless. Humanity's greatest defense was creativity. Every new idea. Every new story. Every song. Every invention. Every dream. They constantly created information that had never existed before. Life was not merely surviving. Life was continuously adding new possibilities to the universe. The universe remembers itself through living minds. The keeper said. When imagination ends, so does reality. At that exact moment, the chamber lights went out. Complete darkness surrounded them. Then, footsteps echoed from somewhere deep within the tunnel. Slow. Heavy. Steady. But there was no one there. Helmet flashlights revealed only empty stone. Yet the footsteps continued. Closer. 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 Then they stopped. Only a few meters away. No figure appeared. No shadow. Nothing. Just an overwhelming feeling that something ancient had finally arrived. The keeper whispered one final sentence. It has entered the moon. Before anyone could react, every light in the chamber exploded into blinding white. And for a single impossible second, Maya saw the entire universe looking back at her. The light vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. Maya collapsed to one knee, gasping for air. The chamber was silent again. The footsteps were gone. The keeper's glowing form had become faint, as though every word it spoke consumed what little energy it had left. It knows you have seen it, the keeper said. Captain Lewis looked around. Then we fight. You cannot fight what has no body. Then how did your civilization survive for so long? We delayed it. The keeper lifted one trembling hand. The map of the human brain returned, but this time it merged with another image, the radio signal that had first reached Earth 12 years earlier. The signal was never a greeting. It was a key. Maya's eyes widened. A key to what? To memory. The keeper explained that every intelligent civilization left behind a memory archive, not books or computers, but patterns encoded into space itself. Every discovery, every language, every work of art added new information to the universe. The silence fed by removing that information. When enough memories disappeared, reality itself became unstable. Our people stored our civilization here, the keeper said, looking around the lunar chamber. The moon is not a base. It is a library. The floating crystals surrounding them suddenly opened. Inside each crystal appeared scenes from civilizations that no longer existed. Children playing beneath purple skies. Scientists building cities inside oceans. Musicians performing with instruments made of light. None of those species remained alive. Only their memories survived. Maya slowly understood. If this library is destroyed, they disappear forever. Another violent tremor shook the moon. Large cracks raced across the chamber walls. The invisible darkness outside had reached lunar orbit. Stars continued disappearing one by one. The keeper looked directly at Maya. There is only one remaining choice. You must take the archive. Captain Lewis frowned. How? It's the size of a moon. The keeper smiled for the first time. It is not stored in stone. It is stored in consciousness. Before anyone could react, the glowing sphere burst into countless streams of blue light. The light rushed toward the astronauts. Maya instinctively closed her eyes. A warm sensation spread through her mind. Suddenly, she remembered things she had never experienced. Alien oceans. Worlds orbiting twin suns. Languages with no human sounds. Mathematics beyond anything taught on Earth. She saw millions of lives flash past in seconds. Not as random images. As memories. The same thing happened to every astronaut. When the light finally faded, the chamber was almost empty. The keeper was disappearing. Its outline dissolved into tiny particles. "Our time is over," it whispered. "Now the universe remembers through you." The ceiling split apart. Chunks of lunar rock floated upward. The chamber was collapsing. Captain Lewis shouted, "Run!" The astronauts sprinted back through the tunnel. This time gravity shifted with every step. Sometimes they felt almost weightless. Sometimes so heavy they could barely move. Behind them, the ancient library crumbled into dust. The invisible darkness advanced without making a sound. When they reached the surface, the spacecraft still stood exactly where it had landed. Its systems, dead only hours before, suddenly powered on. The AI spoke calmly. "Unknown data detected. Storage capacity exceeded. Warning. Estimated information volume, impossible." Maya smiled. "The archive is inside us." The engines ignited. The spacecraft lifted from the moon just as the crater below collapsed. For one final moment, Maya looked through the window. The blue light beneath the surface vanished forever. The moon became silent once more. As Orion crossed back toward Earth, communication suddenly returned. Mission Control's voice filled the cabin. "Orion, do you copy?" Captain Lewis answered immediately. "We copy." There was a long pause. "You've been out of contact for 14 minutes. The crew stared at one another. Maya checked the mission clock. According to their instruments, they had spent nearly 18 hours inside the lunar chamber. Time had flowed differently. No one tried to explain it. Back on Earth, the mission was celebrated as a routine scientific success. The strange events remained classified. Governments feared that humanity was not ready to hear the truth. The astronauts signed agreements that prevented them from revealing anything they had seen. Life appeared to return to normal. But it hadn't. Over the following months, something extraordinary happened. Scientists across the world began solving problems that had remained impossible for decades. A young engineer developed a stable fusion reactor. A mathematician proved a theorem believed unsolvable. Doctors discovered new methods for repairing damaged brain tissue. Artists created music unlike anything ever heard before. Inventors described dreams that later became real technologies. No one knew why. Maya did. The archive had not given humanity answers. It had expanded humanity's imagination. New ideas appeared more easily because countless forgotten civilizations had quietly become part of human thought. Years passed. The stars stopped disappearing. The strange disappearances of forgotten history also ended. The silence had retreated. Or perhaps it had simply found that the universe was creating new memories faster than it could erase them. Maya never told anyone about the final message she had received from the keeper. It had arrived not as words, but as understanding. A civilization is not measured by its weapons, or its wealth, or even its technology. It is measured by the number of new ideas it brings into the universe. Every discovery is an act of creation. Every story preserves possibilities. Every question expands reality. Decades later, Maya became an old woman. One evening she stood beneath the same stars that had inspired her as a child. A little girl beside her pointed upward. "Do you think we're alone?" Maya smiled. She looked at the moon. It appeared quiet, ordinary, as though nothing had ever happened there. Then she answered, "I think the universe has been waiting for someone to keep imagining." The little girl nodded thoughtfully. "I want to become a scientist." Maya gently squeezed her hand. "Then never stop asking questions." Far beyond the edge of the Milky Way, in the darkness between galaxies, something ancient stirred. It searched for silence. Instead, it found billions of minds dreaming, imagining, discovering, and telling stories. For the first time in billions of years, the silence paused. And somewhere beyond human understanding, the universe remembered itself once again. The silence did not disappear. It simply stopped moving. For almost 50 years, humanity believed the danger had ended. Maya never believed that. Every year she returned to the same observatory where the first signal had been detected. The equipment was newer. Now, quantum receivers replaced the old radio dishes, and artificial intelligence searched billions of frequencies every second. Nothing unusual appeared. Yet every time Maya looked through the glass roof at the stars, she felt as if someone was looking back. On the night of her 82nd birthday, the receivers detected a pulse. Only one. No prime numbers. No images. Just a single pulse. Exactly like the first one Elias Carter had discovered decades earlier. Maya smiled instead of panicking. "It isn't a warning," she whispered. "It's a question." The observatory AI translated the pulse into a mathematical pattern unlike anything humans had ever seen. Instead of pointing toward a distant star, it pointed toward Earth. More precisely, toward a child. The same little girl Maya had met years before had grown into a brilliant astrophysicist named Emma. Without knowing anything about the keepers or the moon, Emma had independently developed a theory. She called it the memory field hypothesis. Her research suggested that every conscious mind left tiny, measurable changes in spacetime. Thoughts were not just electrical activity inside the brain. They produced microscopic quantum patterns that became part of the universe itself. When Maya read the paper, she froze. It described, in human mathematics, exactly what the keeper had shown her. The archive was beginning to awaken inside humanity. Maya invited Emma to the observatory. She told her everything. The signal. The moon. The keepers. The silence. Emma listened for hours without interrupting. When Maya finished, Emma quietly opened her laptop. "I think I know why it stopped." She displayed a simulation. The universe appeared as a vast web of glowing connections. Every intelligent civilization created new branches. Whenever one disappeared, the web became weaker. But something changed after humans began exploring space. The number of connections increased faster than ever before. Artificial intelligence generated ideas. Scientists shared discoveries instantly across the planet. Billions of people created stories, music, inventions, and knowledge every single day. The silence feeds on stagnant information, Emma said. But humanity never stays still. Maya slowly nodded. We're chaotic. Exactly. Emma smiled. You call it chaos. I call it continuous creation. Before Maya could answer, every monitor inside the observatory turned white. The lights flickered. The receiver screamed with static. Outside, the stars began changing. Not disappearing. Moving. Entire constellations shifted into impossible shapes. The moon glowed with the same blue light Maya had seen so many years ago. Then every screen displayed a single sentence. The test is complete. Maya's heartbeat quickened. The keepers. Emma shook her head. No. She pointed toward the sky. The message isn't coming from the moon. It's coming from everywhere. The stars themselves pulsed together. Billions of suns flashing in perfect synchronization. A new voice filled the observatory. It was deeper than the keepers. Older. We watched. We waited. We calculated. You have exceeded every prediction. Emma whispered, Who are you? The answer came immediately. We are those who watched before the keepers. Maya felt cold. If the keepers were ancient, who could possibly be older? The stars rearranged again. This time they formed a giant spiral stretching across the sky. Every galaxy was only a tiny point within it. What you call the universe is only one memory. The words echoed inside both women. There were others before it. There will be others after it. Humanity had always believed the universe began with the Big Bang. Now another possibility appeared. Perhaps every universe was born from the memories of the one before it. Civilizations did not merely live inside the universe. They helped preserve it. When enough intelligent minds created enough new ideas, reality continued. When curiosity ended, a universe reached its final page. The ancient voice spoke one last time. The silence was never your enemy. It was your examination. If no civilization continued creating, the universe deserved to end. Maya looked at Emma. Emma looked back. Neither spoke. The answer had been in front of humanity all along. The purpose of intelligence was not domination, not immortality, not endless expansion. Its purpose was to imagine what had never existed before. The white light faded. The stars returned to normal. The moon became silent once again. No more signals ever arrived. Maya passed away peacefully 2 years later. Emma continued her work. She never revealed the entire truth. Instead, she encouraged children to ask questions, build experiments, write stories, paint impossible worlds, and dream without limits. Centuries later, when humanity crossed into another galaxy, explorers discovered thousands of worlds. On every inhabited planet, they found the same lesson carved into stone, encoded in light, or hidden in mathematics. Different languages. Different species. The same message. As long as someone imagines tomorrow, the universe will always have another day. Hundreds of years passed. Humanity spread across dozens of star systems. Cities floated above the clouds of Jupiter's moons. Oceans were restored on Mars. Massive orbital rings surrounded distant planets, collecting energy directly from their stars. People no longer thought of Earth as the center of civilization. It had become its birthplace. Every child learned about the first signal. Most believed it was only a legend. Only a handful of historians knew that Maya Chen had left behind one final encrypted file. The file could not be opened by a password. It could only be opened after humanity discovered a specific scientific principle. For nearly 3 centuries, no one succeeded. Then a 17-year-old student named Noah solved it by accident while studying quantum entanglement. The file opened. Inside was only a single sentence. When humanity learns to hear silence, return to the moon. The message confused everyone. Why return? The lunar library had collapsed. The keepers were gone. There was nothing left. Or so they believed. An international expedition landed near the ancient crater. Modern equipment scanned kilometers beneath the surface. Nothing. No tunnels. No chambers. No artificial structures. Just ordinary rock. Noah wasn't convinced. He remembered something Maya had once written. The library was never built for matter. It was built for memory. He closed every scanner. Every drone. Every computer. Then he simply stood in the middle of the crater. Eyes closed. Complete silence. 5 minutes passed. Nothing happened. 10 minutes. Still nothing. Then he heard footsteps. The same slow footsteps Maya had described centuries earlier. He opened his eyes. The crater had changed. The gray lunar dust was gone. Instead, he stood inside an endless white space with no walls, no ceiling, and no horizon. Someone was waiting. Not a keeper. Not a human. An elderly man wearing ordinary clothes. He smiled. I wondered how long it would take. Noah frowned. Who are you? The man laughed softly. I've had many names. Elias called me impossible. The keepers called me the listener. You may call me whatever helps you understand. Noah looked around. Am I alive? Yes. Is this real? The old man smiled again. Reality is a surprisingly flexible word. He waved his hand. Suddenly the white space filled with stars. Not outside them. Inside them. Every star contained countless tiny lights. Every light represented a conscious mind somewhere in the cosmos. Billions. Trillions. Life is far more common than you imagined. The listener spoke quietly. But intelligence is rare. And wisdom. He paused. Is rarer still. Noah pointed toward a region where thousands of lights suddenly vanished. The silence? The listener shook his head. No. They chose to stop asking questions. What happens then? They disappear. No force destroys them. They simply become complete. Noah didn't understand. The listener drew two circles in the air. The first civilization believes it knows nothing. It learns. The second believes it knows much. It teaches. The third believes it knows everything. It stops searching. The second circle faded. So does the civilization. Noah slowly realized something. The silence wasn't killing them. No. They surrendered first. The listener nodded. The silence merely finishes empty stories. A strange sadness filled Noah. Will humanity become like that? The listener looked directly into his eyes. That depends on one question. What question? The old man smiled. What will humanity do after it learns almost everything? Noah thought for a long time. Finally he answered. We'll ask something bigger. The listener's smile widened. Exactly. The stars around them exploded into brilliant color. Galaxies unfolded like flowers. Entire universes appeared beyond them. Noah suddenly saw that what humans called the universe was only one layer in an endless hierarchy of realities. Each was born because someone, somewhere, had asked a question no one had asked before. Curiosity was not merely a trait of intelligent life. It was the engine of existence itself. The white space slowly dissolved. Before Noah returned to the moon, the listener spoke one final time. When children stop asking why. Come back. Noah blinked. He was standing in the crater again. His team rushed toward him. You disappeared. For 12 hours. Noah checked his watch. Only 30 seconds had passed. He smiled. I'm okay. What happened? He looked up at the stars. For a moment, he thought he saw billions of tiny lights blinking together. Then they were gone. He never revealed everything he had seen. Instead, he became a teacher. Every year, on the first day of class, he would write only one sentence on the board. The greatest scientific discovery is not the answer. It is the next question. And somewhere beyond every star, beyond every galaxy, beyond every universe, something smiled. Because humanity had not reached the end of its story. It had only learned how to begin the next one. Thousands of years later, no one remembered Noah as a famous scientist. His name had faded into history. But his question had not. Every generation inherited it. What comes next? Human civilization no longer expanded because it needed more space. It expanded because every new world asked different questions. On an icy planet orbiting a red dwarf star, gravity was weaker than Earth's. Life there evolved in slow motion. Plants grew for centuries before blooming. Animals communicated through flashes of color instead of sound. Human biologists lived among them for decades, discovering that intelligence did not always require language. On another world covered entirely by oceans, mathematicians learned geometry from creatures that perceived space in 4 dimensions. Every planet changed humanity. Every discovery made the universe a little larger. One day, an observatory at the edge of known space detected something impossible. Not a signal. Not a spacecraft. A boundary. Beyond it. Nothing. No stars. No galaxies. No radiation. Not even darkness. The universe simply ended. A research vessel named Horizon was sent to investigate. Its crew consisted of scientists, philosophers, engineers, and an advanced artificial intelligence called Iris. After months of travel, they finally reached the boundary. The stars behind them shone normally. Ahead, existence stopped. Captain Elena reached out with a robotic probe. The probe disappeared. Not destroyed. Not broken. Its signal simply ceased. As though it had never existed. Iris analyzed the readings. There is no measurable space beyond this point. Can you explain it? Elena asked. No. It is mathematically undefined. The crew debated for days. Some believed it was the edge of reality. Others believed it was merely another phenomenon waiting to be understood. Finally, Elena made her decision. We didn't come all this way to turn back. The horizon slowly crossed the boundary. For one impossible second. Every memory Elena had ever lived flashed before her eyes. Her childhood. Her parents. Her first telescope. Every success. Every mistake. Then, she saw memories that were not hers. Maya. Noah. Elias. The keepers. Even civilizations that had vanished billions of years before Earth existed. It was as if every curious mind in history had become connected. When the light faded, the crew found themselves beneath a sky unlike any they had ever imagined. There were no stars. Instead, enormous streams of light flowed across the heavens like glowing rivers. Each river carried countless bright sparks. Iris spoke first. I no longer detect atoms. What do you detect? Elena whispered. Information. The rivers were not made of matter. They were made of knowledge. Every scientific discovery. Every story. every equation, every dream. They flowed together, forming something unimaginably vast. A figure emerged from the nearest river. Not the listener. Not a keeper. A young child. She smiled warmly. Welcome. Elena looked around. Where are we? The child answered as though the question had been asked countless times before. You have reached the place where universes are written. The crew stood frozen. Written? The child nodded. Every universe begins as an idea. When enough minds are ready, it becomes real. Elena looked back. The universe they had left behind appeared as a tiny sphere of light floating in the distance. It looked fragile, beautiful, alive. The child gently picked it up in her hands. Your universe did well. Elena could barely speak. Who creates them? The child smiled. You do. She pointed toward the glowing rivers. Every spark inside them was a question asked by someone, somewhere. Some questions became discoveries. Some became stories. Some became entirely new realities. The child looked directly into Elena's eyes. The purpose of intelligence was never to find the final answer. It was to ensure there could never be one. Silence followed. Not the silence that erased civilizations. A peaceful silence. The kind that exists just before someone asks another question. The child placed the tiny universe back into the river. It drifted away, joining countless others. Some were just beginning. Some were ending. Some were waiting for their first curious mind. Elena understood at last. The greatest force in existence was not gravity. Not time. Not energy. It was curiosity. As long as even one mind looked into the unknown and whispered, "What if?" reality would continue to grow. And somewhere, beyond every answer ever found, another story was already beginning.